Now, what we have here, guys, is we have a ladder of length 3.7 meters rests against a vertical wall, so that the base of the ladder is 1.2 meters from the wall. Find the vertical height of the ladder. Let's call the vertical height of the ladder some letter that's not usually used, x. Okay. Now, you have two choices. You have sine, cosine, tan, or you have Pythagoras' theorem. Which one do you choose and why? You have 2 sides out of 3. Pythagoras is the correct call. The longest side squared is your 3.7 meters squared. It equals your x squared plus your 1.2 meters squared. What's 3.7 squared? 13.69. And then what is 1.2 squared? 1.44. Take 1.44 away from 13.69 and we can find out what x squared is. So what is x squared? 12.25. And then what's x equal to? Square root both sides. How many people got 3.5 for the square root? Wrong way around. Okay. Shh. Okay. Excuse me. Next question, part 2. Find the measurement of the angle. Lads, when you're doing angles, okay, what way does the question have to end for it to be an angle question? Sorry? So it has to end in cos inverse, sine inverse, or tan inverse. You can choose any of the ones you want, but even without doing part 1, you're still have to do part 2. If I was to choose, this is the hypotenuse, and that there is the adjacent, what one should I choose? Cos. Cos theta, cos of the angle, is 1.2 divided by 3.7. How do I find out what theta is? Cos inverse. And you cos inverse 1.2 divided by 3.7, and what you get in the calculator? 71 degrees. Is that okay? Now, that's question 4. Now, question 6, okay? Now, next one. Guys, as discussed in question 7, okay? When you're far away from an object, you don't actually have to look that high to see the top of a cliff, okay? When you're closer to the cliff, you actually have to tilt your head more to see the top of it. What we have here is 3 triangles, okay? Now, there's the triangle to the left, there's a triangle to the right, and then there's the big triangle that contains both the left and the right triangle. You look for the triangle that has the most information, and you work with that first. Usually the question will hint at what you need to do, but in this case it doesn't. In this case what it wants is, how far did the boat sail towards the cliff correct to the nearest meter? It wants us to find out what this is here. Okay? Now the problem is we haven't got enough information for that triangle. Also, that length is contained within a triangle that has no right angle. Would you agree with that? We haven't covered that yet. So it means that we're going to have to use the big triangle that contains a right angle triangle. Sorry, that contains a right angle to do this. So it means that working with this triangle here is a bad choice, because we've never worked with a triangle that hasn't got a right angle in it. So that's a bad choice. So here's what I suggest you do. First things first, work with the bottom part, okay? If we use the big triangle, and I'm talking about the really big triangle here, and that was 14 degrees. We know that's how much is this here? 200. What we can do is we can figure out what this distance here is on the bottom. We can figure out what the complete distance is. Okay, we'll figure that out first. Okay, so what is the green distance on the bottom? What side is it? Adjacent, opposite, or adjacent? It's adjacent. Okay, so we call that x. Are we going to use Pythagoras here? Because we only know one side. So we're going to use tan. So tan 14 equals 200 divided by x. Where does the x go? The x goes up. Okay. No, the 200 is currently on top. So if we to bring the 200 over, no, not subtracting. It's currently it's cross multiplication. Remember what I said, that if you have let me see, if you have 15 divided by 5, would everybody agree that's 3? Yeah? And I say that equals 6 over 2. Would everybody agree with me that both sides are equal to each other? Now, if I want to move the 6, I have to move the 6 underneath, so that it would become 15 divided by 30 equals a half. And when I bring the 6 down, I leave 1 behind, because it's 6 multiplied by 1. So that'd be 15 over... Is 15 over 30 the same as a half? Okay, if I want, pick another number that you'd like to move there, okay? If I did move the 6, pick another one you'd like to move. It can be the 15, the 5, or the 2. If you want to move the 5, it's division of 5, which means it turns into multiplication of 5 on the other side. And what's 30 divided by 2? 6 multiplied by 5, 30. 30 divided by 2, still 15. It's still balanced. So when you're talking about what movement you're allowed to do and what you're not allowed to do, you have to make sure that it works for a balanced fraction first. And if it works for this balanced fraction, it means you can do the same thing over here. So if I was to move the 200, I have to move it underneath. So what I'd get is tan 14 divided by 200 equals 1 over x. It's not quite what I'm looking for, is it? I'm looking for x on the top on its own. Well, that delivers 1 over x on its own. Any questions on that? This is so guys, when you're tackling this, okay, what I want to say is it's a fraction system. The tan 14 is considered one number. Okay, so we're just going to highlight the tan 14 as it's basically its own number. Okay? Then we're going to draw, it's technically tan 14. Any number on its own technically is divided by the number 1. Okay? So we have a number 1 underneath. I'm going to cross multiply the x. I want to get x on its own somehow. And I want it in a top position, not a bottom position. How do I bring the x from the bottom right? Where's the only place it can go? Top left. So x ends up to be x tan 14 equals 200. You notice I didn't put in the 1 because there's no need. Okay? Where could the tan 14 technically go? Under or over? Under. So x equals 200 divided by tan 14. And what's 200 divided by tan 14? Somebody in the calculator? Nah, it's not. It's 802.15, yeah? 16, thank you, okay? Now, this whole distance here, I'm about to mark it in here. See this distance here I'm just after shading in? That's 802.16, okay? Now the problem is, I want to find out what the red area is, but I want to find out what the red line is, but I know what the green line is. But if I found out what the blue line is, green line minus blue line equals red line. Okay, I'll just shade in the green line again underneath it. The green line is from one side to the other. The red line is the second half, the blue line is the first half. Now, I don't mean to use the word half literally. It's not a half. It's just part. The first part and the second part. Huh? I'm looking for red. I have green. I'm going to find blue, because blue is in the triangle that contains the most information. And take it away to find red. Okay? So, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to find out what blue is by, once again, drawing another triangle. Okay, and that is 200. And then, what do I have here? 28. And I can find out what this y is. Y otherwise is known as the blue length. So, how do I find the blue length y? Any takers? Sine, cos, or tan? Tan 28 equals Opposite over adjacent. 200 over y. You're trying to find out what y is first. Okay. Huh? If you bring the 200 under, you're going to be left with 1 over y on the right hand side. May I suggest you bring the y up? Okay, so you get y tan 28 equals 200. Now what's stopping the y from being on its own? The tan 28. Bring the tan 28 under. Okay, so 200 divided by tan 28, what you get? 76 meters? 376 meters. So, this is 376 meters. The full length is 802. So 802 minus 376. 426. So the red one is 426 meters long. Sorry, go for it, Cameron. Now, what you're asked next is, hopefully some of you know this already. It's about how do you draw, like how do you get angles north 20 degrees east, and then another example would be south 60 degrees west. Well, if you really want to do it accurately and you're in a test and it really wants it accurate, you got to take out your protractor. Okay, once you take out your protractor, you're then going to line it up at 0, 0, like so. Now, it says north 20 degrees east. What that means is you go all the way up north, and then you peel 20 degrees to the right, to the east section. And what you get is that line there. Now, sorry, it should be dead center there. That's the second line was better than the first. So there you go. There's an angle of north 20 degrees east. Is everybody cool with that? Now, if I want to do another one like south 50 degrees east, I just turn it upside down like so, and then yeah, I'm on it. Well, at least I thought I was on it. There we go. So south 50 degrees east would be you go south, and then you go left or right. Left is west. You're going 50 degrees east. 1, it's still my right. 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 50 degrees. South 50 degrees east. Everybody get the gist of how to do that? Okay. Now, what I might ask you next is, they're very fond of giving you simple triangle questions. However, to create the triangle, there's a lot of language and a lot of language. So you got to create the triangle. The question itself is easy, but creating it is the hard part. Okay. So what they're asking you to do is 2 ships X and Y leave a harbour. So look, they both leave at the same harbour, right? So we call this harbour O, and I'll move it to the centre of the board because I don't know where any of them are going. So I'll just call that O. Okay. X travelled due north at 20 kilometers an hour, while Y travelled in the direction north 60 degrees east. After 1 hour, Y was directly east of X. Calculate the distance travelled by Y. Okay, let's concentrate on one letter at a time. Where does X go? X goes north, and we'll just draw it going north. Okay, that's X after 1 hour. Would everybody be happy with that? Just goes north a certain distance. Okay. Now the other one, where are you, my friend? The other one. And you wouldn't have to draw this, unless it specifies it, you wouldn't have to draw it completely accurately. North 60 degrees east. So it's technically 30 degrees this way. Or I could do it going north and then just count 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. Okay, I keep going upwards. Oh, sorry, east. Up. North 6 degrees east. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. Okay? I keep going until what happens? I'm level with X. Now, I slightly am level with X, so I'll just drag it down ever so slightly. Like so. And then I'll just click on that and just cheat with that a little bit. Okay? Now, it says that one of them is directly east of the other one. Correct? So then I draw a line going directly east. Okay? And that's y over there, okay? Barely fitted the diagram in, okay? Now that I've done that, directly north followed by directly east, what type of triangle does that have to be? Right angle triangle. It was after 1 hour. X was travelling 20 kilometers an hour. How far north did X go? 20 kilometers north. Okay, we have one angle, we have 90 degrees, and we have one side. We're going to need another side. We don't actually have another side, but we definitely have an angle, don't we? The angle here was 60 degrees. We are currently looking for the distance travelled by y. So we want to first figure out what here all the way to here is. That makes sense? From here up to here. That's the hypotenuse is what we're looking for. Okay? So sine, cos, or tan, guys? Cos, adjacent followed by hypotenuse. So cos 60 equals 20 over, let's call this x. Now, go on, what's the movements here? The movements? X cos 60 equals 20. And then? Yes. 20 over cos 60. Before you give me the answer, a bigger number or a smaller number than 20? If you got a smaller number, more than likely you're upside down. Okay? You'd have cos 60 over 20. Or you use sine 60 or you use tan 60. You used the wrong one. Lads, this more checking mechanisms here. If you make a prediction on what you think should happen, if you know that you're expecting something bigger than 20, because it's the longest line in the triangle, then you know, if you get below 20, you know you're definitely wrong, you know to go looking. If you get something above 20 that's still wrong, well, at least you've eliminated out the obviously wrong answers, okay? So what do we get for that? On the dot? X equals 40. Twice as long. Okay, so x equals 40 here. Now, finally, you have two options to get your last one. What are the two options? The distance between the two ships. What could I do, Liam? Huh? You could do Pythagoras if you want. You could do 40 squared equals 20 squared plus whatever letter we'll call it. We'll call it L. Okay, we could do it that way. Can anybody suggest an alternative method? The way we did the first one, except this time we're looking for the opposite side using the adjacent. How do you find the opposite side using the adjacent? Tawa. You could use Pythagoras' theorem, or you could use tan 60 equals opposite divided by hypotenuse, L over 20. What's L on its own? 20 tan 60. And what is 20 tan 60? Once again, make a prediction. Is it going to be bigger than 40? So bigger, not as big as 40. 34 point. And round it off to the nearest one. L equals 35 kilometers. Is everybody alright with that? Okay, that's good. Now, this is a similar type question. I'm not going to, no spoilers on that. I think you're going to have to handle that one on your own.